This man lay unconscious on the shore of a deserted island. When he woke, he found himself on a desolate island. As far as his eyes could see, he saw nothing but the sea. But as he looked around, his hair stood on end, as his companions lay lifeless on the shore. As he ran to them, they were already dead. He realized that he was the only one who survived on this island. But he did not know that the most painful battle of his life was about to begin. This man's name was actually Robinson. A few days ago, Robin had set out on a sea voyage. He was sailing with all his friends when suddenly a massive storm surrounded them. The storm's waves were so dangerous that the entire ship sank in the middle of the vast ocean. The scene then returned to the present, where he dug several pits and buried all his companions. To spend the night on that deserted island, he slept under a tall tree. As morning dawned, he spotted his own ship, stranded at sea. He began swimming toward it without a second thought. After much effort, he finally reached his ship and began gathering whatever supplies he could find to survive. As he reached the bottom of the ship, he heard a strange sound. He immediately picked up an axe and quickly broke down the door. As he opened it, his own dog, Jack, stood before him. He took his dog with him, and he fashioned a raft, some logs, loaded it with everything he could carry, and set off back toward the shore. After tireless effort, he finally reached the beach. Upon landing, he ate to satisfy both his and Jack's hunger. However, the food supply, enough for only 4 or 5 days, would prove insufficient for this desolate place. Unless a miracle occurred and help arrived within those few days, he was doomed to starve to death. Leaving Jack behind, he sprinted off like the wind, hoping to find a way out. Racing through the dense forest at breakneck speed, he reached the far side of the island. But the sight that greeted him shattered all his hopes. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing but the open ocean. Surrounded by water on all sides, he felt he would never escape. The scene before him left him utterly devastated. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. He had spent months on the island, yet not a single ship had appeared on the horizon. He began to feel as though his life was coming to an end. One day, while Robin stood on the shore with his dog Jack, Jack suddenly began barking furiously. When Robin looked out at the sea, the sight made his blood run cold. A large ship was passing right in front of them. He immediately raced toward it, brandishing a torch. He tried desperately to light a fire, but the flames were slow to rise, and the ship was already drifting further away. In a panic, he grabbed his rifle and fired several shots, but the roar of the crashing waves drowned out every sound. The roaring waves of the sea drowned out every sound. The ship kept moving forward. Robin's anguished cries from behind failed to reach the vessel. That ship had been his last hope, and now it was drifting further and further away. In a state of panic, he plunged straight into the sea. Robin swam towards the ship with all his might, but he was no match for the fierce waves and remained treading water right where he was. The ship receded until it was nothing more than a tiny speck, eventually vanishing forever. Exhausted, Robin collapsed back onto the shore. Seeing his despair, his closest companion, Jack, began to bark loudly, as if he too had lost the last hope of survival. He spent the night gazing at the sky, yet he saw no prospect of rescue. He could not remain exposed to the open elements for long. So that very day, he gathered some wood and began constructing a small shelter. After much hard work, he finally managed to build a makeshift home for the night. Gradually, his life settled into a routine, foraging for food in the morning, tending to his shelter and surroundings during the day, and sitting by the seashore with Jack in the evening, waiting for help to arrive from afar. Before he knew it, 6 whole years had passed. Jack remained his constant, closest companion throughout. Jack was an animal, certainly, but sometimes, even a small companion can be nothing short of a miracle for a lonely human. At night, as he slept, he was tormented by memories of his wife. Deep down, he would reflect on how, had he only listened to her that day, he wouldn't be in this plight now. One day, while the two were strolling along the shore, Robin's eyes suddenly fell upon a strange footprint in the sand. At first glance, he thought it might be his own, but when he examined it closely, he was stunned. The footprint he was looking at belonged to a stranger. Robin immediately gripped his rifle firmly and began to move forward, scanning his surroundings. Meanwhile, his companion Jack also appeared uneasy, as if he had sensed some unknown danger. After walking a short distance, they spotted several wooden boats moored there. It was evident that someone had left them there only moments ago. The question now was, who else was present on this desolate island? Fear began to mount within him. Yet, Robin slowly moved toward the sound. Clutching his rifle and hiding behind a large tree, he peered ahead, and his blood ran cold. A large crowd of people was engaged in a terrifying ritual. Several captives could be seen bound by ropes. Witnessing this, Robin realized that something horrific was about to unfold. He immediately reloaded his rifle. As he gazed at the terrifying scene before him, his heart pounded violently. He knew that getting caught could cost him his life. But then, his eyes fell upon the captives. Their distress and desperate hope for rescue stirred his humanity. The tribesmen standing there were on the verge of slaughtering him. Despite 6 years of solitude, he could not simply abandon an innocent person in such peril. Without wasting a moment, he raised his rifle. Seizing the right opportunity, pulled the trigger. A bullet sped through the air and struck one of the tribesmen. The impact instantly plunged the gruesome ritual into chaos. The tribesmen scattered in panic, and the air filled with screams and shouts. Amidst the commotion, one of the bound captives managed to break free and flee. He ran straight toward Robin. Robin felt a surge of alarm as the man approached. "We are friends, not enemies," he said nervously. "I won't harm you." The tribesman, still holding a weapon, advanced toward him and suddenly knelt down at his feet. He took Robin's leg and placed it upon his own shoulder, as if acknowledging Robin as his master. Robin was astonished. He couldn't quite figure out why the tribesman was placing his leg on his shoulder, but the very next moment, the man picked up Robin's rifle. Although the tribesman had picked up the weapon, he didn't know how to use it. Seeing this, Robin realized that the man posed no threat to him. He immediately said, "Give me back my gun, I won't hurt you." When the tribesman paid no heed to his words, Robin took out the little food he had left and placed it on a nearby stone. Through gestures, Robin tried to convey that he wanted to help. Observing this, the tribesman stared at Robin with a look of nervous apprehension. Once convinced that Robin intended to help rather than kill him, the tribesman tentatively moved toward the food. Just then, however, several hostile tribesmen emerged from the bushes. Seizing the opportunity, Robin instantly took one of them down, but this time, Robin was lucky. A tribesman stepped in to help him right at that moment. With a single swift blow, he killed the attacking tribesman. The danger was averted in mere moments. After the fight ended, when Robin turned around, he saw the tribes devouring the flesh of the man he had just killed. The sight made his blood run cold. He realized that the tribesman whose life he had saved was not an ordinary one, but belonged to a cannibalistic tribe. When the tribesman noticed Robin staring at him, he fled in terror. Robin immediately rushed back to his hideout. Upon arriving, he set about fortifying his defenses, laying traps all around his shelter. He planted sharpened stakes and arranged various snares and obstacles. He loaded his most lethal weapon with plenty of ammunition so he could protect himself the moment danger struck. To ensure his safety, he remained in hiding at that same spot for months. Day and night, he kept a constant watch, fearing that a group of tribesmen might come to hunt him down. Yet, strangely, months passed without any tribesmen attacking to exact revenge. Finally, he decided that if the danger wouldn't come to him, he would seek it out himself. Clutching his rifle, Robin set off into the depths of the forest with his companion, Jack. He moved slowly through the dense woods, but after advancing only a short distance, he accidentally stepped onto a concealed trap. Instantly caught, he was hoisted upside down, trapped helplessly. Terrified, his companion Jack fled the scene without even attempting to help. Robin kept shouting for help. Just then, a tribesman emerged from the dense forest. As soon as he appeared, he began staring at Robin. He tentatively picked up the rifle that had fallen to the ground. Upon seeing the unique weapon, a smile spread across the tribesman's face, as if he had discovered a priceless treasure. Hanging upside down, Robin realized this was his chance. He immediately managed to pull out his knife and cut through the rope binding. As soon as he was freed, he fired his rifle straight at the man. The bullet whizzed past, barely missing him. The tribesman was startled. He realized that this small weapon was extremely dangerous. To demonstrate its power, Robin fired at birds perched in a tree, instantly bringing one down. Witnessing this, the tribesman picked up a piece of wood and threw it with such precision that it struck its target dead on. Robin then realized that the tribesman was not only strong, but also quite intelligent. Gradually, trust began to build between them. Eventually, he decided to take him to his home. That night, they shared a meal, and perhaps for the first time on that desolate island, poor Robin felt a little less lonely. Yet, fear lingered alongside the trust, so he kept him tied up as a precaution. However, the next morning, something strange happened that changed everything. Upon waking, Robin saw the tribesman standing right in front of him. There was no anger on his face, nor any attempt to flee. Instead, he had brought breakfast for Robin. Seeing this, Robin's suspicions began to fade. He immediately untied him, and for the first time, viewed him as a friend. That very day, he named him Hunter. Over time, their friendship grew stronger. Robin began teaching Hunter his language, and to his surprise, Hunter was a quick learner. Within a few months, they could understand each other perfectly. The tribesman was no longer just a stranger. He had become Robin's closest companion on the deserted island, assisting him in everything from household chores to hunting. Gradually, their lives began to improve. One evening, as they sat talking by the fire, the conversation turned to their respective perspectives on life and the world. Hunter's mindset and experiences were vastly different from Robin. They both tried to reason with each other, but the conversation gradually turned into an argument. In a fit of anger, Robin said something to Hunter that deeply hurt him. Upon hearing this, Hunter quietly walked away immediately. After that day, their friendship was never the same. Despite living on the same island, they chose separate paths. Whenever they crossed paths, they would look away and pass by each other. However, over time, Robin began to realize that his anger had driven away his closest friend. Now, only regret remained in his heart. After days of reflection, he set out to find Hunter again. When he found Hunter alone by the shore, Robin quietly approached him and apologized for his mistake. He promised that, from then on, they would respect each other's perspectives and prioritize their friendship above all else. Hunter remained silent for a few moments, then smiled and accepted the apology. That single moment brought them even closer than before. They resumed spending time together, strolling along the seashore, hunting, and laughing away old grievances. However, one day, Hunter revealed a secret that changed everything. He confessed to having broken certain laws of his tribe. As punishment, he had been banished to this place. He explained that because Robin had helped his tribesmen would inevitably come looking for him to exact revenge. Upon hearing this, they realized the danger had not passed, so they began making preparations immediately. For the next 4 months, they focused on setting up traps, barriers, and explosive snares to protect themselves, knowing the impending confrontation would be far more perilous than anything they had faced before. One day, while they were sitting peacefully, they suddenly heard a loud rumbling coming from the direction of the volcano. They were instantly on high alert. Upon investigating near the cave, they saw members of the same tribal clan preparing for another human sacrifice. They ignited the traps they had laid out. Sparks flew, and the fire began to race rapidly toward the cave. Tragically, upon seeing the flames, their third companion, Jack, ran straight toward the fire. Robin shouted desperately to stop him, but it was too late. Suddenly, a massive explosion occurred, and Jack, his most loyal companion, was lost to him forever. Watching his friend vanish right before his eyes shattered him completely. The shock left Robin utterly heartbroken. Yet with a heavy heart, he buried Jack and remained lost in memories of him for a long time. Jack, his loyal companion who had stood by him for years, was lost to him forever. Yet their troubles were far from over. Hunter explained that if the tribe learned he was alive, they would certainly track them down to this location. Robin then devised a new plan. He suggested that the time had perhaps come to build a large raft and attempt to escape the island. However, this idea troubled Hunter.